Guys, good morning and welcome back to another video here from the Off-Kit Garage in not so sunny Australia. Just after Christmas, cloudy weather, but we are still maintaining about 50% state of charge, so I cannot complain at all. The solar system works great, making 2.5 kilowatt at the moment. Yeah, and people always want to have a look outside. That's how it looks like. It's not too bad in the west there. Let's see what we can get. Well, in today's video, in the last video, we fully calibrated now the battery 1.0, our recycled battery 1.0 to the Seplos BMS. And I want to show you something interesting here. So after fully charging it again to 55.2 volts overnight, it says the remaining capacity of the battery is 248. So this is again 4 ampere hours less than we measured yesterday. But yesterday we started from a higher voltage, so maybe that is the 4 ampere hours. Probably not. So I guess we can say around 250 ampere hours for this battery now. And in today's video we want to combine our 250 ampere hour battery again with the 130 ampere hour battery. I think this is what we calibrated this battery to. So it's roughly half of the capacity what our big battery has. And I want to combine them together, let the BMSs talk together as well. And then I want to do a full discharge test with these two batteries again, into dumping all the energy into the Tesla, and see how the BMSs react with the big battery and the small battery in parallel. Because this is something Seplos does not recommend. They are not saying you cannot do that, but they are not recommending it. And I can quite understand why, but I want to see it. I want to test this out. I want to see what's happening when we parallel these two very different batteries with different BMSs together and discharge and use this battery basically. And I'm also very, very tempted to put in an active balancer here, at least the wiring harness, so I'm ready. I probably will definitely do this before we put the other 280 ampere hour box on top of this one, because afterwards it will be very hard to get to this box then. Yeah, and as you may remember, we have done exactly the same here and already prepared the wiring harness for an active balancer with the 130 ampere hour battery. And we've got so much space here in the front panel, we can easily have a little switch somewhere here to manually turn on this active balancer if needed, maybe once or twice a year, to fully charge and top balance and calibrate the battery again then. So that is tempting. Yeah. Such a little switch would perfectly do it and turn on the balancer if we need it. So many projects. Okay, so now looking at the voltages, we've got 55.8 in the big battery and 53.3 in the small battery only. I have already connected the positive now, but I'm a bit hesitant to connect the negative as well now. It is a 3 volts difference. I'm not sure, there could be a lot of current flowing. 3 volts is a lot. So I'm not sure if I should connect them or better recharge this one a bit so the voltage comes a bit. I think I do that. Man, what can you do? Suck it up, princess. Let's connect them. All right. I don't know. Will there be a big spark or not? I don't know. Oh god. Oh god. Let's Nah, there's nothing. Look at this. Okay, let's connect them and see. 11 amps. It's a loose connection, right? It's a loose connection. 63 amps, 50 amps, around 50. So if voltage comes down a lot. Okay, so if I really tighten this one now here with the nut. Piece of cake. Yeah, negative 20 and here 23 into this battery now. So they're balancing out, equalizing out now. No overcurrent disconnect or any warnings, nothing. it was just fine. There was the loose connection just touching the terminal with a cable, but you probably shouldn't do this. That was just for testing and educational purposes, so don't do it at home. Don't. Bring them up to the same voltage before you connect them in parallel. Okay, so communication established. This one is number 2, and this one will be our number 1, just from an RS485 perspective. I'm not going to connect this via CAN bus to anything, so we are just talking RS485 at the moment. Number 1, number 2, and then we connect our computer. Okay, we tick pack number 1 and pack number 2, connect, and it should just work, right? And we can see here in the top left hand corner then pack number 1 and 2 is alternating as we go. So if we just choose pack number 1, which is our big battery at the bottom, 280 ampere hours, and then we can just go to pack number 2, which is the 135 ampere hour battery, and this is at 93%. Okay, let's connect the charger again, fully charge these 2 batteries, and then we do another discharge test and watch the 2 BMSs, how they actually interact with each other. I have to check all the settings of the 2 BMSs, so make sure there's no safety mechanism kicking in, low voltage, low state of charge, disconnection, crap like this, but I think it's all turned off. So now it is a bit cumbersome in this software to see actually both BMSs at the same time, because they are alternating all the time between pack 1 and pack 2. And even I can deselect one pack and we only have a look at the 280 ampere hour battery now. To jump to the other battery quickly, I need to select the battery number 2 and deselect battery number 1, and then I can see battery number 2. But going back and forward all the time is a bit... So what I found is actually helpful is to go to this button down here, multiple, and here we can see both BMSs, so pack number 1, the big one, and pack number 2, the smaller one on the top, and we can see all the voltages, the max voltage, min voltage, the average, total capacity, the current, and the battery voltages. So I think we will work with this overview here at the moment, and yeah, have a look what's going on. So currently we are charging with 21 amps, 55.2 is our target, and the big battery pack number 1 is taking 4 amps only. This is the one we have just recharged overnight, while the smaller battery at the top is taking 16.6 ampere, and the deviation is 29 millivolt for the big battery. We have just recharged last night, and only 11 millivolt for the smaller battery on top, because this one had also the active balancer connected the last time we did testing with it. So all the cells should be still fully balanced. And this is one batch of batteries they sent me. This is not like 3 different deliveries from 3 different time periods like in the big battery. But this is all part of the test, right? We want to see how such a battery will perform. Okay, I would say the current is already tapering off for the charger. We are just under 20 amps now, so we're coming close to absorption voltage. Shouldn't take too long. I'll leave this all running here, and if something happens, I'll let you know. There you are. So we have now fully charged both batteries to 55.2 volts. There are still 700 milliamps going into the battery from the charger. But here, looking at our both batteries, we can see the BMS doesn't show any current for both of the BMSs anymore. Unfortunately, the deviation is not as great. You can see it's 33 for the small battery on top and 83 for the big battery at the bottom. The balancer is active. You can see the cells flashing, jumping colors. So it is now 10:50 a.m. in the morning, and I want to discharge this one into the Tesla as well. So, and the test may take 7, 8, 9 hours or so. So I want to start as early as possible with that, but I'm happy to give this another half an hour now to see if the balancer actually comes down, but I honestly cannot see that happening. Okay, let's wait until 11:30 and then we start the test and discharge this battery. This balancer is really the weakest point of these BMSs. So we are still charging with 340 milliamps into the batteries. Let's have a look. 5517, 55.2, 248 and 125.6. So this will be our maximum capacity together. And the deviation was at 89 and 33, and it's now at 99, 129. The deviation of the big battery has actually increased, while the deviation of the small battery has decreased by 5 millivolt. It is now almost midday, so I was waiting for an hour and the balancers are not doing it. But we have tested this in all details before. I link some of the videos down below as well. The balancer in the Seplos BMS, not a fan, not a fan. They are not working. Terrible. Okay, I would say let's start with the test. Let's connect the test lander, deplete these two batteries all together completely, and see what we can get out of them and how the BMSs actually act. If one of them turns off before the other one and then the other one has to carry the whole load, or if they're communicating and shut down at the same time, it'll be interesting to see. Because I guess this is the whole point of having them communicating, right? Okay, we are officially start charging at 12:08, and we can now see only the individual amps, not the total amps of the whole battery pack into the vehicle now. So here in this overview you can see we are pulling 26 amps from the big battery and only 20 amps from the small battery, and this will go up and down all the time depending on the state of the battery. But all in total we are pulling again these 47, 46 amps. So now we can see 26 amps from the big battery and 17, 18 amps from the smaller battery. So this is what they level out now. And I think this will run for seven hours, I guess, 8 hours maybe. So I'll be back after dinner and then we have a look at what's going on. I think I call back in at around 50% state of charge. So after 10 minutes, I'm already back. And I want to show you something interesting here. So this is the big battery, 280 ampere hours, and it's delivering 29 amps to the inverter, while the smaller battery with 135 ampere hours delivers only 17 amps. So, and because the current is going up and down, you can see it's changing all the time, but this one is fairly stable with 29 point something amps, and this one goes up and down depending what the inverter needs at the moment. But we can also see that the ratio of the current delivered by the single batteries is almost the same as the ratio of the capacity of these two batteries. So the big battery has double the capacity of the small battery. And we can see this right now. 15 amps coming from the small battery and 30 amps coming from the big battery. So the battery twice as big delivers twice as much power to our inverter. And this is actually a good example how you can parallel these battery packs together regardless of the capacity. So it could be 100 ampere hour and a 300 ampere hour in parallel. As long as the voltage and chemistry is the same, there's no problem at all, and this will all work. We have tested this in all details with the smaller batteries. We paralleled a 300 ampere hour battery to a 5 ampere hour battery. This was called Parallel Extreme. I'll link this video down below as well if I don't forget. And we could see exactly the same behavior as we see right now here. Because some people still expect the smaller battery depleting faster than the larger one, because it hasn't got enough capacity, but this is not the case. Okay, I thought I'd show you this quickly, and we will see us again when it's dark outside. So a bit of an update here to the situation. We are now almost 5 hours into the test. There's something going on between these two BMSs here. So if we have a look at pack number 1, which is our big one with the 280 ampere hours, the BMS thinks it is at 41% state of charge. So there's 103 ampere hours remaining, 41%. If we have a look at our pack number 2, it thinks it is at 32% state of charge with only 42 ampere hours left. Yeah, here, watch the dashboard. This is between 32 and 41% state of charge. There's a big difference between these two BMSs and the calculation of the actual state of charge. So I'm really keen to see what this system would be reporting to the Victron system later on, because one of the BMSs will be the master and reports all the information to the Victron system. But what is it reporting? 42 or 31%? The voltage is the same. And also the cell voltages here, they are not much different from each other between the battery banks. But the calculated state of charge is quite different. I found this weird. Okay, let's give it another 2 hours or so and then we should be almost done. So after exactly 7 hours, the battery is still going, kind of strong. And here, have a look at the state of charge of both batteries. 10.5, 12.5. So they are coming together again at the end of the discharge cycle. Here in the overview we can see battery number 1, which is the big one, the 280 ampere hours. And here's the small one with 135 ampere hours. So it claims we've got 31.4 ampere hours left. And here we've got 13.7 ampere hours left. But because we are discharging with a lower current now, the actual capacity could be exceeding what we have measured before. So I'm expecting that the total available capacity of both batteries will increase now, because we are pulling less current from both batteries. At the moment, 36.7 from the big battery and only 15, 16 from the smaller battery. Let's have a quick look at the deviation. Small battery has 11 millivolt and the big battery has 31 millivolt. So actually not too bad. I guess the overall shutdown of the system will fall exactly into our dinner time. I'll monitor it on my mobile phone and I'll be right back when it gets really juicy here. And interesting, even we have two different batteries with two different capacities and two different BMSs. Look at the average voltage each pack has. 3.182, 3.181. So completely different behavior of the battery banks, but the average voltage of the battery cells is exactly the same. That is fascinating. So we are now down to 8, 9, 10%. And we can see we've got a remaining capacity alarm coming up on the big battery. But this is just an alarm which was set in the settings, so nothing to worry about. And we can still see 33 amps from the big battery and 20 amps from the small battery. So it will go down quickly now, I think. Then we can see the capacity 8.8 to 10.2. So fairly close together. And deviation is 6 millivolt for the small battery and 31 for the big one. I don't know why it's going better. 5 millivolt we are seeing now. That is incredible. 50.7 volts and the average cell voltage is 3.168 for both battery banks. Pretty cool. Okay, so this is like now 30, 40 minutes later. We just had dinner and the system is still running fine. Nothing has changed much. Let's have a look at the state of charge. 5.4 for the big battery and 10.2 for the small battery, the BMS claims. This is a calculated value, of course. Deviation, 166 millivolt for the big battery. And guess what? Cell number 6 is our lowest one again. And we have 72 millivolt on the small battery. So the deviation is increasing now because the voltages are spreading now. Totally normal when you discharge. We are at under 3 volts with cell number 6 in the big battery. So I think we will come to an end fairly soon with the big battery at least. The small battery is still at 3.1 volts with the lowest battery cell. Is that correct? Almost 3.05. Remaining capacity 13.9 ampere hours in the big battery and 13.5 in the small battery. Again, this is what the BMS thinks it is. But we are discharging the big battery with 40 amps and the small one with only 13, 15, sometimes 7. But again, it is a balancing thing because they are in parallel. And the small battery are still no warning. That is incredible. Man, I had to increase the charging limit of the Teslander from 80% to 90% now, because we're already at 81%. The car would have shut off charging first before the actual batteries are empty. Well, we are going for a trip tomorrow, so this energy will be used, definitely. Turn on the light, that is so exciting. Okay, we now got another warning here, the remaining capacity alarm. That's fine, that's for the big battery. We are at 5% state of charge, and the other one is still at 10% state of charge, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's have a look at the big battery first. We can see cell number 6 is at 2.9 volts, under 2.9, and cell number 8 is under 2.9 as well. And we've got 300 millivolt deviation already. Cell number 6 again is the weakest one, as we have seen in the test in the last video. Pack number 2, still running, no warnings. Cell number 12 is just under 3 volts now. No warning, nothing. Discharging with about 9 to 17 amps and 92 millivolt deviation. Well, some people turn off their system if one of the battery cells goes under 3.1 volts. I think this is too high. 3 volts is okay, but 3.1 is a bit too high. Okay, let's see what's going on in pack number 1, the big battery. We are just going under 2.8 volts, and this will be now the interesting part of the whole test here actually, when we see the big battery turning off, because the cell number 6 has reached 2.5 volts. And what is happening? Is it turning off the system altogether, or is it shifting all the load onto the small battery and keep this one running? I'm expecting the whole system will shut down because there's a communication between the two batteries, but let's see. It can only take a couple of minutes now until we hit this exact threshold. It is already dark. Come on, Andy, it's 8 o'clock. Stay awake. And the small battery is still going strong. 10% state of charge, it claims. No warning. Cell number 12 is just under 3 volts. So still okayish. Yeah, while we are waiting, excuse all the cables here. You can see the small battery here, just one green light missing here from the capacity, but no warning, no alarm LED. While the big battery, one LED missing, but there's a red light coming because we've got an cell under voltage alarm, which is fine. Here the displays are showing negative 15 amps on the small battery and negative 36 from the big battery. Okay, I'll just make sure all my screen recording is running, because we are at 2.6 volts for cell number 6 now. We are close to a turn off, while the small battery pack still no warning, just at 2.9 volts. Okay, and now we got a third warning here, the cell different voltage invalidation, because we've got 500 millivolt between the lowest battery voltage and the highest one, and we are close to a shutdown here. Let's see if the whole system shuts down or just this one battery pack. 2.56. Yeah, that's the final countdown here for the big battery. It's the final 600 millivolt deviation. And shut down. Okay, so the large battery has now shut down. 0 amps you can see, while the small battery is still going. All the load has now been shifted onto the small battery. And we can see the load is carrying 48 amps all of a sudden. And this shouldn't take long until this one is depleted as well. We've got the alarms straight away coming up, while this one is still going now. 46 volts all in total. And we've got several low voltage cells now. But you can see how even this low voltage situation is spread across the pack now. That is pretty good actually. So lowest voltage cell number 12, 2.75. And I can hear the fan spinning down in the inverter. We are close to an end and everything will be shutting down. 45 volts. They are all purple now. So all the cells are low voltage now. 2.65 for cell number 12 and 2.8 for cell number 16. So far better outcome here for the small battery. They are far better matched than the big battery. 44 volts. You can see the total voltage here. I can hear the fan going down inside the inverter. It's getting less and less voltage. 60 amps we are now. So it's trying. That's it. Pack number 1 has already turned off. It's not communicating anymore. Connecting. No, that's it. Everything has shut down. That it is. But what I could see, I bring this up here on the screen, I could actually see the total capacity of the big pack, of the pack number 1, has increased from 252 ampere hours to 253 ampere hours. Because we have pulled less current from this battery pack, the overall capacity has increased by 1 ampere hour. And the BMS is now working with this new capacity for its calculation. Okay, let's have a quick look at the charging situation of the vehicle here. So this was exactly 8 hours of charging from these two batteries. So from 161 kilometers to 286 kilometers. Guys, well, a bit of a verdict now about this whole situation. Now, these two batteries here linked together with an RS485 cable and open communication and everything, they have not behaved differently to the 3 individual BMSs we have here on the battery shelf. They would have done exactly the same. One BMS would have turned off the first, the load would have spread to the other 2 BMSs, the second BMS would have turned off, and the last standing battery pack and BMS would have carried all the load until it would have shut down as well. Nothing different to the Seplos BMS and batteries. I'm not sure, maybe this is per design and the batteries are supposed to do that. Then on the other hand, what is the purpose of the communication then? So I'm really not sure, because a bit of an expectation was if one battery bank shuts down because of a low voltage disconnect, it tells the other BMS, hey, I'm shutting down now, do you want to come with me? And then the other battery bank shuts down as well, because it is one unit, it acts like one battery. But then on the other hand, it wouldn't make any sense at all. Because if we have a faulty cell in one of the battery banks, it would shut down your whole system. Not only this one battery bank, but the whole system. And this is the whole purpose of paralleling battery banks, right? With individual BMSs. It is more effort to cable everything. You have to buy another BMS, a separate BMS for each battery bank. But you have the benefit of having 3 individual battery banks, which are acting totally individually. One battery bank goes down for whatever reason, you still run the system from the remaining battery banks. So from this perspective, the behavior makes sense. But again here, what is the purpose of the communication then? Okay guys, let me know in the comments down below what you think about these 2 different tests we have done in the last video and in this video here. What is the verdict? What is the benefit of having these batteries connected to each other, communicating to the Victron system, to each other? I still don't see the major benefit of it. So I would be highly, or we all would be highly interested if you have several battery banks in parallel and they are communicating with each other and your system. What is the benefit of that in a low voltage situation? I mean, it cannot tell the inverter to throw off some of its load, right? The load is what it is. Well, I guess this test has opened more questions than it actually answered. I just realized I've got a lot of screen recordings here on this video now, but this is where the actual magic was happening. So there was nothing to show on the batteries themselves. Everything was happening on the screen, so I apologize for that screen recording heavy video here. We will do some more practical stuff in the next video when we are going to recharge these batteries here, because I'm not going to use the power supply to recharge these batteries. We will use some alternative energy sources. Can you think what it is? Leave your comments down below. That there's nothing to win, so just leave your comments. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all your amazing support here on the channel. Thank you for all your hundreds of comments. I'm a bit behind with reading and replying to them. So until the next video, guys, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye-bye. Thanks, guys. Okay, so wait before you go. I'm just introducing 55.2 volt and 21 amps to these two batteries. So let's see, because at the moment they are both completely dead. Nothing. Okay, let's turn on the charger and see what happens. Oh, they're turning on straight away, but no power. Yep, now they are charging. Okay, so they're waking up straight away with an alarm. Both have an alarm. Oh, we are seeing here 65 amps into this battery here, coming from this battery, 29 amps. This one, the big one, is charging the small one now. That is interesting. So I think this one has shut down again. And we now see the 21 amps here coming from the charger. But this one has turned off because of a low voltage disconnect again or something.